2016.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Is that your son over there?
Yep. That's him.
He sure is cute.
I'm awful proud of him.
So, the two of you have been here about 2 hours. Is that right?
Yeah. That sounds right. If you want, we can go.
No, let's not be too hasty here. We're just talking here.
Okay.
How old is he?
11.
Are you sure?
I know he looks younger.
Sorry, I was just hoping he was 16.
I'm sorry, what?
We have a policy against hiring people that are under 16.
I'm sorry, what?
I can tell he has some difficulties, so I knew I'd have to talk to a parent or guardian to get the paperwork filled out to hire him.
I'm sorry, what?
So, are you looking for a job?
I work in a factory. We're just in town on vacation. My wife and daughter are at the science playground down at the other end of the mall. My son got bored and he likes animals.
Well, I'm very glad you decided to stop in. How much do they pay you at the factory? I might be able to compete.
But we're not looking to move. And it is a 4-hour drive from home to here.
Not even to spend all day with your son?
I'm listening.
I'm going to be straight with you. I saw the two of you come in on the cameras. I've been kinda watching as I did my paperwork. We've sold more animals and accessories since the two of you arrived than we normally do all week. Your son is a natural salesman. I understand he's special needs. Whatever he needs, we could accommodate: extra bathroom breaks, limited mobility. If he can't read, that's fine, we can make sure he has assistance. Anything it takes, we can do.
He is still in diapers.
That's fine. However often you need to change him, we can accommodate that. Anything to replicate these kinds of sales regularly.
I assure you, it's a coincidence. My son is not a salesman.
Oh, this puppy is so cute. He wants to go home with you.
Okay, that's not what he's been doing this whole time.
1 week later at church.
I'm here to pick up Carson.
I'm sorry, we had a parent complain that Carson doesn't belong in the nursery, and we sent him to the 4th grade room.
Okay.
In the 4th grade room.
I'm here to pick up Carson.
Who?
My son. The nursery said they sent him here.
Oh, did you know he's still in diapers?
Yes. That's why he's normally in the nursery. They're set up to handle diapers.
Well, we aren't. So when he got here, one of the parents complained that he smelled funny and we had to find somewhere else to put him.
So where is he?
We had one of the high schoolers take him.
I didn't get a notice that he needed to be changed.
They only send those notes in the nursery.
Okay. He has diapers his size in the nursery that we keep stocked. Did you get one of those?
Oh, we don't change diapers.
So he's been in a dirty diaper for an hour? And no one made any attempt to contact me?
Well, if you would just teach him to use the bathroom.
Excuse me? My son has a genetic condition. It is a miracle that he can walk and talk as well as he can. It's not his fault that he's not able to use the bathroom.
Well, it's not my fault either.
But you had the chance to notify me that he needed changed, and you didn't. He's relying on you.
I'm sorry, we're just not set up for people like him here.
Where is he?
We sent him to one of the empty classrooms with one of the high schoolers.
John 9 verses 1 to 3 corrected King James Version. And as he passed by, he saw a man blind from his birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he should be born blind? Jesus answered, Neither did this man sin, nor his parents, but that the works of God should be made manifest in him. My oldest has a rare genetic condition called Wolff-Hirschhorn syndrome. It's a partial deletion on the short arm of the 4th chromosome. That's why it's also known as 4p-. My son is a particularly mild case, and because of that we didn't have a diagnosis until he was 5 years old. Because he was our first child, we didn't know how difficult we had it. We didn't understand the complaints other parents would lob in our direction. Until our son was 4, because of his digestive issues from his genetic condition, he needed to be fed every 2 hours, 24 hours per day. We discovered that his natural rhythm better accommodated eating every hour and a half. We attended the church of my wife's youth until our son was 3 years old. At that point, we were told that our son was too disruptive for the main service, so we needed to take him to the nursery. The next week, the nursery attendant had not fed him while he was in the nursery. Because of that, he was extremely weak. We took him immediately to the emergency room, where they gave him 4 nutrients overnight. It's a good thing we live in a world where 4 nutrients exist. We would have lost our son that day without them. The nursery attendant's response was direct. I can't hold him to feed him. If he can't hold his own bottle, then you need to keep him with you during church. That was the last Sunday we were in that church. We went to another church with a larger building and congregation. They weren't any better set up for a child that couldn't hold his bottle, but at least there I could find a quiet room to sit alone with him and feed him. I missed a lot of sermons, but that's okay. I'm a sheep that feeds myself an awful lot. By the time he was getting close to 4, his coordination and strength had improved to the point that he could hold his own bottle. He was welcome in the nursery. What's more, the youth program director had a daughter with Down syndrome. Attendants and parents were told in no uncertain terms that no matter what, the youth program would always work to find the best fit for our son. When he was 5, we had and then lost another child to the same genetic condition. That was a big part of getting the diagnosis. Then when he was 7, we had our perfectly healthy daughter. Until my son was 9, I used to tell other parents that every child comes with their own unique challenges, and we all do our best. My tune changed when I had a few years' experience with a typical child. Y'all get it easy, so shut up and learn to listen. When our son was 11, the youth director stepped down and a new youth director took over. The new youth director felt that there were too many accommodations for special needs kids. They started working to roll back those helps. Kids were to be strictly divided up by age without exception. Kids were expected to conform to expectations of their peers. Parents were notified of needs according to what's expected of the age group they're in, etc. The nursery staff did the best they could to shield our son from these changes for as long as they could. It helped that at 11 our son was still as small as most 6-year-olds. Still, some nursery parents were still concerned about the first grader in the nursery and complained to the youth director, who made the appropriate changes. We tried to work with the teachers and attendants to find a place for him for about 3 months. Then, the week after a vacation where a manager of a pet store made my son feel welcome and accepted to a level he'd never experienced from a strange adult before, his own youth program stuffed our hypersocial child in an empty, dark classroom with a high schooler as his only company and left him there in a dirty diaper. That was the last Sunday we were in that church. I don't envy the job of pastor. I understand that the pastor is trying to balance and juggle the concerns of the entire congregation. There are people with sensory concerns that can't hear the sermon with my son chattering away. There are parents afraid that their baby will get run over or forgotten in favor of a larger child. As long as a pastor is not actually addressing these problems and making a place for my son, though, they forfeit the right to complain that I'm not and other parents like me are not attending church on Sunday. My son is now 18, but he can't be left home alone for 2 hours while I attend church any more than an average 4-year-old could. He needs the kind of care and supervision that a 4-year-old does. If there's not a place for people like him in your church, there's not a place for people like me in your church. If you look around and you don't see anyone like him in your church, that's probably because your church has failed people like me already. Now that my son is 18, potty trained, and a little better at managing his outbursts, one of the things that I enjoy is visiting a new church every week. I used to do that a lot before I had kids. We do have a church that is our spiritual home, though, Longview United Methodist Church. I don't really identify as a Methodist. I prefer a little more theology and philosophy than what I get there, but current pastor Allison Maddox and former pastor Renee Devontaire were the first pastors to take active interest in the spiritual development of my son. Last week, at the encouragement and direction of Pastor Allison, my son was baptized. He wanted to show the world that he loves God and intends to follow Him. He wanted to become a part of God's family. It's nice to have found a home church that makes that possible for him. I wish I could give better direction to those seeking help finding a church friendly to their disabled children from outside our local area. As someone that visits a bunch of different churches, there are patterns that emerge, but none are absolute. The first thing to look for is other disabled people in the church. The more disabled people there are attending, the more likely they are to make room for our disabled children. Sometimes disabled people end up in a place that isn't the best for them, and then they just don't know how to get out of there. That's rare though. So that's the first thing to watch for. Another thing to watch for is people that interact with the disabled community. If there are a bunch of people there that know your kid from Special Olympics or work training programs, you'll have allies against the people who don't already know your kid. The third thing to watch for is rainbow flags. I know this is going to disturb a number of my more theologically conservative friends, but if you don't like it, then make it not true. While it is absolutely true that there are unfriendly rainbow churches and friendly conservative churches, it's been my observation attending a bunch of churches that there's a positive correlation between the number of rainbow flags and socially progressive programs a church has, and the positive reception and support my son will get from the church leadership. Christ told us that when we have an opportunity to help those that are less fortunate, that reveals what we really believe about God. Matthew 25 verses 31 to 46, if we help only those that can help themselves, then God will allow us to handle our own salvation, and that won't go well for us. Matthew 18 verse 33, be to those who need your help how you want God to be to you when you need His help. This goes double for pastors. James 3 verse 1, if you're really telling someone like me that we need to attend church every Sunday, then understand that you need to either make room for us, or that you might be pushing us into the hands of your political and or theological enemies.